Maybe you've seen a page like this on your tax return and thought that these were the taxes that were going to be due next year, but they aren't. They're more or less a lie, right? When your tax preparer gives you these tax estimates, he's not helping you pay next year's tax bill. He's keeping you out of trouble. These numbers are just estimates that say, hey, if you pay this amount of money, you're not going to get a penalty for not withholding enough money next year. But what it doesn't tell you is how much are you going to owe next year? It's just a guess based on what last year's tax bill was. You need to pay either 110% of last year or within 90% of this year. Well, what if your income goes up a lot? You can still pay all your quarterly estimates and have a really big tax bill. So, what I prefer to do is not a tax estimate, a tax projection. Estimates base it off of what your tax bill was last year. A projection is looking at what your income's going to be this year. And if you're on QuickBooks or on Xero or another accounting system, and your spouse has a day job, it's pretty easy for me to figure out what you're going to owe in tax. I just go in and I put in their W-2 and I put in their withholdings, I put in your W-2 and withholdings, and then I go into QuickBooks and I look at how your sales are trending versus last year, what's maybe changed in your cost structure, and I come up with a top line sales estimate number. Can interview you and talk about what are like the trends that you're seeing in the sales of your business. Maybe your sales are way up, maybe they're way down, maybe they're flat. That gives me the information I need to essentially do your tax return before the year's even over, and then I can say, okay, Mr. Client, you're going to owe 33,400 in tax. Your spouse is going to withhold X, and so you're probably going to owe 22,000. Well, what can we do? So now during the tax year, which is the only time you really have an opportunity to make a meaningful change on this number, we can actually make some adjustments instead of waiting until April when most of the moves, besides dumping some money into a retirement account, have already sailed. There's nothing that you can do. And so these tax projections do two things. They keep you from being surprised come tax time. You always know what you owe, but they also give you a planning lever during the year to see whether or not it's time to pull the trigger on some of those strategies you've been thinking about.